It's a good question. I think I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be either an engineer or an architect. It was probably largely because people kept telling me, "Oh, John, you're going to be an engineer, I can tell." And so, what fed into that, I liked taking things apart. I'm definitely a tinkerer. I was often able to get them back together again. I think it took a long time to figure out what kind of engineer. I went to school at UW Stout for manufacturing engineering. I got a computer science minor, so I did definitely get some programming training. And then I went to UW-Madison for a mechanical engineering degree. And it was called mechanical engineering, but I spent all my time on control theory and power electronics. What kind of schooling, what kind of engineer am I based on my schooling? I'm not sure. It's funny, when I first started my bachelor's degree, I was sure that I wanted to bust through that as fast as possible and get out in the real world and start making money. After being there for a few years, getting towards the end, well, first of all, I picked up a computer science minor because I really was interested in computer science, and so that added another semester. I found I was enjoying school more. I was a little bit less attached to the idea of gotta make money right now. But also, I had a few internships while I was in school, and that last summer before I graduated, the internships were sparse. They were hard to find, and that was because that was right around the housing market crisis. I thought, hey, rather than being forced to enter a job market at the wrong time, I could continue learning. I could go back for a master's degree. So that's what I did. Expectations. I wanted to save the world. I had a lot of lofty and optimistic thoughts about what I was going to do as an engineer. I wanted to build and create and invent and innovate and continually build and improve the things that, make the world amazing, make human life amazing. We're not just living in huts. We can travel so fast, right? These are all things that engineering has given people. I wanted to be a part of that. Obviously, after getting into industry, things changed a little bit. My expectations were met with real world. So there are a few people that come to mind that inspire me for different reasons, I think. So one is Bill Gates. And he's obviously been instrumental in bringing the PC into the hands of the average person. He's retired now from that, and he just continues to have lofty goals that are intended to benefit everybody. Things like fighting malaria, trying to make it go extinct. I think that's an incredible direction for someone to go with their life. To actually have a chance at it, that's amazing. Elon Musk, he's brilliant. He has a picture in his mind of what the future could be like, and he's bringing it into the real world. He's inspired millions and millions of people to help him bring it into the world. So many cool ideas, it feels like the future is now because of people like Elon Musk. Sir Richard Branson is another great example. A guy who has seen a lot of opportunities, a lot of things that don't make sense, and turned those things into businesses. Reportedly, it sounds like he's very good to his employees, shows a lot of appreciation, and improves their lives while they work for him and help him build his businesses. And I think that's great. That's inspiring. That's a good question. I have, for a very long time, had the idea in the back of my mind of starting a business. I think that idea kind of fell away as I entered into the workforce. So I spent a lot of time working on my career as an employee. And like I say, I graduated with a lot of very optimistic feelings about what engineering would be. And in some ways, when those feelings met reality, I was able to sort of remap them and say, okay, I feel like I'm doing this in these cases. But in a lot of ways, I felt like I wasn't. The realities of engineering often are that projects have budgets and deadlines, and so they have to be predictable. You have to have a way of saying, I know it'll cost this much to do that thing this quickly. And to do that well, that means you have to do a lot of copy-paste. You have to do things that you've done before already. No complaint there, except that I felt like it was preventing me from learning and growing. And that's a huge motivation in my life, is to learn and grow. At some point, I decided I wasn't learning enough. I wasn't comfortable where I was. And more than that, I think I was afraid of becoming comfortable in that position of stagnation. So when I found an opportunity to start a business, I did. I haven't looked back since. It's kind of funny. I like to joke, starting a business is as easy as telling people you have a business. I can't say I did a ton of research. I did meet a friend who was doing something similar and got a few questions answered there, but mostly I told the internet that I had a business. So I told the state of Wisconsin through the internet and created an LLC. I went and talked to a lawyer. I went and talked to an accountant. I opened a bank account. I had a business. Obviously, growing it from there was a lot different. It didn't cost very much. It cost about $200 or $250 to register the LLC. And from there, I used a personal laptop and trial versions of software to get started. So in the first year, I certainly invested a significant amount of my revenue into tools and proper software and a proper laptop, but the actual starting cost was very limited. So initially, my transition from being employee to being entrepreneur wasn't a whole lot different, because as entrepreneur, I call that first stage entrepreneur light. I just owned my own business. I owned my own job. So I was still working more or less as an employee. There was certainly a lot more autonomy in what I was doing, but I was still basically doing the same job with a couple additional things of, invoicing and customer service and things like that. So the actual transition, I'm not sure. Now, transition after that from entrepreneur light to entrepreneur CEO, let's say, full-fledged entrepreneur, that has been much more of an adventure. I'm sure I still haven't learned everything there is to learn. I'm always learning new things, but that's been a lot of reading, a lot of podcasts, a lot of the support of the people around me who want to see me succeed, and who I'm so fortunate to have following me in this business and this endeavor. Business is always on my mind, and I'm always trying to get better at it, and I hope that's working out. It's a great question. Industry contacts are so important for what we do. They're the way that almost all of our business comes in. I really established the industry contacts that I'm connected to while I was at my last job. I was doing the same job basically. I was a controls engineer, so I did electrical design and programming. So I had the same supplier contacts because I'm in the same area. That's been very valuable. These people already know what I can do. They can vet me. Because what we do is so much a support of the suppliers and their customers, this ends up being a very good win-win-win. It's what makes the business work. I think it obviously gives me a lot of flexibility in how I approach my career. But beyond that, I think it changes the way I look at life. When I was an employee, I started out being creative and trying to think outside the box and trying to invent and all these things that I keep talking about. And the way that position was didn't support that way of thinking. And so I had to tone that down and put that part of me in a box on the shelf for later. Now that I'm in business, that part of me is not only awake, it's thriving. It's a required aspect for what I do. And that supports, that affects everything I do in life. I find myself thinking of hobbies and everything differently, more in an empowered and creative mindset. I love that name, Breen Machine Automation Services. It's got a ring to it. I was brainstorming, with people while I was starting this business, the people close to me, and I wanted something that said what we did. I wanted something that was fun. I wanted something that would be not already owned by someone else, by another company, because we have to have a different name than all the other companies. All of these things kind of came together. I put my name in it partially because that helps make it not something I need to worry about other companies having, but also because the Breen Machine, aside from just rhyming, that's a nickname that I've independently received from multiple groups of friends at different times in my life, in high school, college. It's fun, but it's also, in my mind, a symbol of what we do. That nickname was very much felt to me anyway as a doing attitude. Breen Machine, this guy who gets stuff done, whether it's in gym class or on the hybrid vehicle team. Breen Machine feels empowering, feels strong, feels like endless possibility and doing. And that's what Breen Machine is all about. We're about doing things. We're about possibility. And then machine automation services is exactly what we do. We work on machine automation. We provide services as engineers, programmers, troubleshooters. Philosophy, I like it. In a lot of ways, this business was born out of my experiences in industry. So those experiences range from very positive to very frustrating, and I've tried to build a utopia as much as possible based on these things that I saw when I was an employee. So one of those things is trying to get started as an engineer was incredibly hard. And it wasn't just hard from a learning perspective. I think I'm very good at learning. I enjoyed that part. I'm hungry for knowledge. But it's hard to find that knowledge. It's hard to find experienced people who are willing to impart that knowledge to you. And I was fortunate to have a few of those people in my life as I was getting started, but even that had its limits. And I wanted to be able to learn for myself. I wanted to be able to learn different ways of doing things. And there just aren't a lot of resources out there. So I try very hard to provide those things for my employees and to provide those things for the industry as a whole, through our YouTube videos, our blog content, our paid courses on AutoCAD and using virtual machines, and many more to come. That's one frustration that I'm trying to make right. I feel like the industry needs that. You can't just expect every new employee to have 10 years of experience. That's just not reasonable. But I think you can distill so much of the process, the understanding, into a teachable course. And it seems like everybody else in industry just says, no, you just need experience, you just need experience. And it's like, no, we can organize this. We can codify it into something that people can learn. So that's one big aspect of what I think my business is about. Like I say, we create this content. We also hire people with the intent of educating, training, building them into that person. And that means we don't need to find someone with 10 years of experience. We can find someone with some foundational knowledge and the right attitude and aptitude. And we progressively give them more and more challenging projects while training, while working side by side with them to make sure the customer gets absolutely the best service and quality of product they can, and the person is growing at the same time. So we have access to a whole hiring pool that the rest of the industry doesn't. And we're making industry better by bringing more of these people into the industry that no one else sees the potential in. And by selecting people based on attitude and aptitude rather than a ton of years of experience, we get to find people who are focused on our values, people who learn quickly, people who are passionate about the details, who love to help people, who are here to help people. And again, I think that's just a wonderful thing that we can give these people an opportunity and bring these wonderful people into our customers' businesses to help them with what they do. Another big aspect of what we do is just the idea of helping people. Certainly the education ties in there, but it's more than that. Like I say, I have this thought in the back of my head that I want to save the world. And it's a funny thought, right? It's vague. It seems whimsical, but I think a lot of what we do and the things that inspire me to keep doing are those things. It's not like saving the world from an asteroid, but it's making the world a better place for the people in it, for the communities, for the future. So part of the way we do that is by helping people in their careers. Part of the way we do that is by supporting automation. We try to see and understand the needs of people in industry and support those things, particularly in ways that aren't well supported already. So that could be, generally speaking, the people out there that know how to program machines or design machines are OEMs, which are generally larger companies. They don't want to do the small stuff. They don't usually want to be a part of a small manufacturer's attempt at automation. But we do that. We love to do that. Often people in automation have the on-site expertise for mechanical things, want to add a little station to their existing machine, want to try making a small automation cell, but they don't have the controls expertise. And so we can partner with them. We can be their controls department. for those things. We empower them to do these things they couldn't otherwise do. And we fill this need that the industry otherwise doesn't have any solution for. And finally, I want to see the benefits of my business go as far as they can. I want to see them affect as many people as possible, not just this country, but the whole world. Are there people in Africa, in India, in Europe, in Central America? I mean, automation is everywhere, even places that we don't think of being super autonomous or high tech. People just have the right knowledge. People can be so resourceful, and putting knowledge in the right hands then can have such a huge impact on communities and quality of life well outside of our direct reach. So this is another reason, again, we're putting out so much content through the web via videos and blogs and articles, ebooks. I would love to see those things go as far as they can. That's a good question. So if we were a machine builder, an OEM, we obviously would have to have a physical presence. I think because of that typical model in industry, it's a standard thing to expect that someone having an automation business would have to have a physical location. But I don't think it's true in our case. Everything we do is generally on the laptop, is electrical design, is programming, is testing, or it's on site with the customer. So when I'm working at my office could be anywhere. It could be at a coffee shop, it could be in Costa Rica. I keep telling myself that. It hasn't happened yet, but we'll see. Why not, right? This is freedom. This is taking advantage of real technology and opportunity. Why spend time and money on commuting? Why spend money on a building, on that extra infrastructure that doesn't really get us any more value? And we save money while supporting our lifestyle of freedom and saving our customer money. This business model is so efficient, we can afford to pay our people well and to charge our customers so much less than other people. We're about on par with an industrial electrician, and you're getting an engineer, an experienced troubleshooter, a strong programmer. This is a win-win-win. I love that question. Not because I love it, but because I have asked myself that question so much. What's your 5-year goal? What's your 10-year goal? This is the standard way to think about business and life goals in general. And I have found, after feeling like a failure every time I try and answer that question for myself, that that's not the way that works for me. I think the way that works for me is what is north on the compass? What is the direction we're going? And it's the same as the philosophy I just talked about. We are about helping people, improving industry. We're about, I'm going to say it again, saving the world. We're about creating a positive impact as broadly as possible for the people. So this isn't about where are we going to be in 10 years. It's about where are we today and what are we trying to do for tomorrow. And I don't mean tomorrow as the general future in 10 years. I mean, what can I actively be working on right now to meet my goal in the very near future? I think that's what this is about. It's about the direction, not the destination. The world doesn't need the same things today that it's going to need tomorrow or in 10 years. Technology changes way too fast. I am always thinking about my business. So I'm always asking myself these questions. How can we benefit more people? How can we support our customers better? That's how I'm accomplishing my goal. I keep asking these questions. Sometimes the answers come and sometimes they don't. Just keep looking for better ways to do things today. I think, so I started making video courses for the reasons you cite. I want to support people. I want to fix this issue that I've seen in my own experience. I also just love teaching. I love taking a topic and breaking it down into its pieces, structuring it, trying to make it relatable for other people. And honestly, I've been wanting to do that kind of thing since college. I've always been a tutor through high school and college. The teaching is just part of who I am. So like I say, I was a tutor through high school and college. I was even paid as a tutor in college, which still feels kind of weird to think about it. I was a TA for a couple semesters for an electronics class where I did a little bit of lecture, I did all the labs, and since starting my business, I've actually taught a couple semesters at a tech school as well for distributed control systems. It's a good question. I love engineering, and I love having more direct input into the automation systems that I see. I may consider teaching full-time at some point, but right now I feel like this is where I should be. So when I was teaching in a classroom, I was teaching 15 people or so. And it took time for me to drive there and to do the classes and to drive back. And that didn't feel like a very efficient use of my time. And I would go back and do that again in a heartbeat. It was a good experience. But with this idea that I want to benefit as many people as possible, I just kept coming back to that in my mind and saying, how can I do this bigger and better? And video courses seems to be the answer in every way. It's a way that I can reach everyone. I can reach the masses. Literally every single person that has an internet connection can participate in one of my video courses. I can provide that lesson to them for less cost. There's no textbook. They don't have to take notes even. I organize everything so that it's accessible again later. Go through it, do the process with me, whether it's AutoCAD or a virtual machine or programming. Do the process with me, you'll get a feel for it. Rewatch the parts you don't understand. In 6 months, when you're doing a project that has something that you didn't reapply right then, well, go back and watch that part. Go watch the video on I/O or troubleshooting Ethernet or whatever. And it's right there for you. It seems to me like a much more efficient and effective way of learning something. It's cheaper. It doesn't require you to be on site somewhere. Man, industrial courses are often, the schedule is a pain in the butt. Rockwell Automation might have their course bounce between Chicago and somewhere in Florida and somewhere in Nevada. And, if you don't get exactly that timing, you're SOL. You can't learn that thing for $3,000. What if you could learn the thing for less at your own pace whenever you want and have access to it later? When have you, I've had training courses before when I just wished 2 years down the road, I wished I could go back to that training course or just watch that one little part because I can't remember how to do it now. You forget things. So I think this is really the best of all worlds, where the only drawback is that you don't have physical stuff that's part of the course. If you need an AutoCAD subscription, for example, you're going to have to get that yourself. But even with that AutoCAD license plus the course, it's still cheaper than going and taking an AutoCAD course. It just checks so many boxes. These are both things that I felt like I had a lot of experience trying to communicate already. And so it seemed like the right place to start. The Virtual Machines course was really me dipping my toe in the water, figuring out how to do the camera work and the editing and screen capturing, organizing and structuring the content. The AutoCAD course is something I have been so frustrated in my time in industry. I came into industry with knowledge of how to use AutoCAD. I had a drafting course in college that used AutoCAD, and that wasn't enough. I still stared at the page like, how do I design a thing, And so I've taught a few people in my business how to use AutoCAD. I've really refined a process to be efficient with it in my time in industry, and I wanted to share that, and it was just it was ready to come out. And so I blocked off a week and I recorded all those videos, and with my previous experience in the virtual machine course, I was much more ready to take that structured approach and be efficient about recording. And so hopefully we just get a little bit better every time. I've got grand plans for more courses in the future. I'm putting out videos on YouTube with the intent that I can see faster what things people are most gravitated towards, so I can really focus on the things that people are interested in next. So that'll be my way of prioritizing. If you're interested in something, go watch those videos. That'll help encourage me to make those courses next. Industrial Ethernet. I'm going to do a course on that. Design, troubleshooting, tips and tricks. I'm going to do a course on programming, and that's probably going to branch into a few different things, but I think I'm going to focus on high level first. There's a lot of content out there already on what's normally open or normally closed contact. I want to teach people how to structure, start to finish, a program from scratch. And a structured program, that's really one of the biggest things that sets apart a novice programmer from an experienced programmer. Can you see the whole project and put it in an architect a program? So I'm going to work on that. I want to introduce the of structured text. This is a programming language, it's IEC programming language that's available on most PLCs. And I think it has enormous power for things like math and data handling, where ladder logic just isn't very good at it. And so I want to help people understand that and use it where it's appropriate. Those are the things in my mind right now, and I'm excited to get the time to put them together. Yes. So our courses are generally intended to start with a relatively low level of experience. In the case of the Virtual Machines course, you're probably not going to be able to use it until you understand how to use your industrial software, whether it's for Rockwell PLCs or Omron or whatever. But you just have to be able to use a computer. You have to understand how to use a mouse and keyboard. You have to understand some of the basic concepts of, opening windows and things like that, and have sort of a general concept of what the hardware is in the computer. If you can understand, what RAM is, what a hard drive is, you're pretty well set. And I think anybody in industry that is targeted for already has to know that. So I think we're pretty good there. Regarding the AutoCAD course, that was intended for people who can read schematics. You have some basic familiarity there. And beyond that, we teach you everything. So I show you how to draw lines and boxes and circles and how to progress from there into efficient, effective drawings. And you walk away from that with everything you need to be able to draw a full drawing set, panel drawings and IOs, and to do it efficiently like a professional. Help more people. And in all the ways that we already do that, and in all the ways that we're going to find. Hire more people that have the right attitude and aptitude, and help them become the champions of automation. Find more customers and help them in ways that nobody else has come up with. Very targeted work. So for like a controls upgrade, you have a 30-year-old PLC that you can't get parts for anymore. A bigger company or an OEM would want to replace the whole panel. There are times where that's appropriate, but many times you can just replace the PLC or PLC and HMI or whatever the key components are, and then fuses and transformers and other things like that. Why redo the whole panel? I think this is so key to helping people because it's often 25% of the cost of doing the full panel replacement to just do these parts. And it can be a third of the lead time. I think that's keeping money in our customers' pockets, and it's supporting their production schedule by getting them back up and running so much faster. We're creating software. We've created this Go Capture software that is intended to work with LMI Go Caters. These are 3D cameras. And we've had so many customers ask us, hey, is there a good way to data log from these? And, in many cases, there isn't. You can data log with custom software in a SCADA or PLC system, but what if they're in the lab, or what if they don't have the resources to pay for that customization? So we've produced this program for them. It's in beta testing right now. Very excited to be getting it out in the real world in the near future. And this is relatively recent, right? We see the needs and we focus on those things. And I can't predict what it'll be like tomorrow, but we'll keep heading in that direction. We'll keep asking those questions and focusing on the solutions. My newsletters and blogs are about sharing. They're about sharing our interests, sharing our experience, sharing our observations. In some cases, they're very personal observations, ways that I find myself thinking as an engineer in industry and how that affects my life outside of being an engineer. For example, had a lot of good feedback on that blog post in particular called Good Engineer, Heartless Bastard, the pros and cons of an analytical mind. And I mean, it's funny, we joke everywhere. There was a university study that concluded with engineers are called heartless bastards. So that's where that comes from. Read the article. But yes, sharing knowledge, experience, interest. So the phrase, your champion in automation, is really our approach towards customers. Everybody in industry has different ways that they approach people. I have noticed that people often tend to be kind of rough around the edges, and sometimes that's okay. Sometimes they're still on your team. I've run into so many people though that are distrustful of new contractors, of new people to do service work in their business because they've had bad experiences. So we do everything in our power to be the opposite of that. We are really on your side. We're about what makes most sense for you. If there's a project that you have and we think either we're not a good fit for it or maybe that's not a good direction to go with that project, we'll tell you that. We continue to try to find better ways to ensure that we're asking the right questions and doing exactly what you need done. And, even if, whether that's consulting, maybe you're hiring it out to somebody else and you just want somebody to look it over. I've done that. We got your back. We are your champions. We're here for you. Yeah, so I like to say that we do controls anything. And that's almost true. Obviously, you got to draw the line somewhere. So where controls is related, electrical design, programming, troubleshooting, consulting. We've done quite a bit of R&D, custom PC programming, PLCs. And I think we have a very broad skill set that is hard to find between industrial and non-industrial programming that often becomes very powerful, especially in the R&D space. Regarding size, I wouldn't say that anything is too big or too small that we've run into yet. Usually on the upper bounds, people start wanting hardware. They want a full turnkey automation system or something like that. And that's not what we do. We don't do mechanical design or mechanical assembly. We have partnered with some companies in the area here that we can vet, we feel good about, to help us do smaller mechanical things. So say a small test cell or something like that, where there's a little bit of mechanical and a lot more controls work. But beyond that, it's not what we do. So that's usually where we draw the line. There's not a dollar value or anything associated with that. On the lower end, we're happy to do 2 hours of shooting or 3 hours of consulting. But often less than that, you can get the services you need just from the supplier or the manufacturer. They have applications engineers and helplines that are free for you to call often. Those resources are often very good. I definitely work with the applications engineers in our area a lot. And, if you can get what you need from them for free, please do that. Nothing's too small, but that's kind of you'll probably fall off the end at some point. And maybe their services make more sense. Yes, so we are incredibly versatile, flexible, and agile. We've often been called into situations where machine breaks and they need help right now. We recently had an OEM that was doing an install in Texas, which is on the other side of the country from us. And they were calling us as they were getting on the plane to support their customer, even though they had just lost their programmer. This guy had the laptop and he was going to figure it out. And so many kudos for that guy. He was a go-getter. And I'm really glad that we were able to support him. So we had a guy out there in Texas the next day. I can't promise we'll always be able to do that, but we try very hard to support our customers' needs. In the R&D area, again, our flexibility and our creative thinking, I think, is a very strong asset for us. So a good example is we've got a customer in the paper industry that we've been working with. They use a 3D camera to measure aspects of their process. Especially in 3D, there just aren't the tools to easily measure the things that 2D has. So we've written quite a bit of custom programming in a PC. So the PC is talking to this 3D camera and getting all the information it needs. And then it's talking to the PLC involved. And we measure all sorts of features. We provide statistical data, save images. It's a great thing, and it's a thing that we're able to do. We can do all sorts of things. We work just about anywhere. So most of our customers are within about a 4-hour driving radius. And that's just because that's how industry works. People like to work with people that are nearby. But that being said, we've been to Canada 6 times. We've been to Saudi Arabia 3 times. We've been to Texas and all over the US. We pretty much go anywhere, and we like travel. So yeah, give us a call. All the things. I have read books. I have researched on the internet. I have asked questions to everybody who will humor me for long enough to ask questions to. I've come in contact with some very smart people and some people who are very generous with their time and their knowledge. And I think just a lot of keep on keeping on, a lot of asking questions. Is this working as well as it can? How can I improve this? When I notice something's not working, I never think about it like, oh, this is stupid, it's broken, whatever. It's an opportunity to improve. Sometimes it's hard to ask the right questions until you get something that kicks you in the butt. That's the wake-up call. That's the information that you were looking for. So come work for us. If you like controls and you want kind of a little bit of an entrepreneurial feel in that work, I think this is an ideal place to be. Programming, electrical design, troubleshooting, thinking outside the box, being creative, saving the world, right? I think a lot of people often ask me this question of how do I do what you do? And they want to have that control over their own destiny. They want to be in a place where they're appreciated and supported and growing, but they don't really want the business aspects. And so that's why I say, come work for us. Now, if you do want the business aspects, do it. It's easy to get started. It's harder to grow, but if that's what you're looking for, do it. It's remarkably easy. Somebody once said to me, any schmuck with a laptop can start a business like ours. And it's true. So, I am just now learning about marketing. We have remarkably been able to exist without virtually any marketing for 3.5 years now. And I think that's because we really look for opportunities to create, I keep talking about the win-win-win. If you're in a position where people benefit by your benefiting, if they want you to succeed, then things just kind of work out naturally. Past customers will refer us to their friends. Our distributors have been an amazing support because they want to sell PLCs and HMIs and everything else. And their customers often don't have the resources to install them or program them or design around them. So those are things that we can provide. Our distributors know that we're very focused on serving the customer. They know we're going to serve their customers well. They know that we're good at what we do. So the distributor gets to sell the part. The customer gets to have the part in a working condition the way they want it, the way they need it. And we get to have work. It's a win-win-win. And I think it's an underserved space as well. A lot of word of mouth, a lot of connections. Yeah, so I've already mentioned it at this point is, and I think I originally heard it from Elon Musk or maybe even somewhere else before that. If people want you to succeed, you're very likely to succeed.